Hi, welcome to Chair Yoga. I'm Shannon, and this is an introduction to Chair Yoga. If you have never tried any kind of yoga, welcome. Welcome to a yoga class, maybe your first, maybe your 1000. I have a couple of friends with me today. I teach this live online, but I'm also going to be recording the classes for you to have if you would like to take this class at any time during your busy schedule or not so busy schedule. So if you have a chair, it's great if you can find one that doesn't have sides. It's okay if it does, totally can make that work. But if you have a folding chair, sometimes a dining room chair or something like that that doesn't have sides on, it's great so that you can start to move from side to side. This is an accessible class, so I would like for us to stay in the chair for those that maybe getting up and down is an issue. I also want to protect you from falling, so we'll stay in the chair the whole time. We'll do a lot of movements that you've seen in yoga. If you've ever seen any kind of class, those same movements can be done in the chair. So I welcome you. Thanks for being here. Go ahead and sit back in your chair. Hopefully you have a back on it so that you can lean back a little bit and relax for a few moments. Feel your feet on the floor and your hands on your legs. So it's pretty easy for us to sit up nice and tall. We're not down on the floor. We've got the back of the chair behind us, but think about a few things here. Ground down through your feet. So let's say you have roots on your feet and the roots are growing down into the earth. Really feel the bottoms of your toes, the pads of your toes, your heels, even the outside and insides of your feet. Press your hands on your legs. When you press your hands on your legs, I want you to feel a lift up through your body so that you feel as if you were going to stand up, but ground down through your sit bones so that you feel nice and tall. Maybe close your eyes or a soft gaze. You can still look at me, see what's going on, or you can close your eyes. And then probably one of the most important things that I would love for you to think about in your yoga practice is how you're breathing. I was talking to my mother about this yesterday when we were out and about running errands, about the fullness of your breath. Even though we take a deep breath and it feels like the deepest breath that we could take, it isn't necessarily. We have the capacity to breathe even further than that. So I like to think of it as going to your capacity of your breath and then letting it out slowly. So let's try that. Think about breathing from your abdomen, your ribs, and your chest. So try that. Inhale from your abdomen, widen your ribs, lift your chest, and then slowly let that breath out. Try again. Inhale from your nose, abdomen, ribs, and chest. Hold it for a moment. Keep the lift in the chest and slowly let the breath out through your nose or your mouth. Inhale fully again, abdomen, ribs, chest. Hold for a moment. Feel the breath. Slowly exhale out, but keep the lift of your chest. Let's try that one more time. Inhale the fullness of your abdomen, ribs, chest. Hold it. Keep the lift of your chest. Exhale, ribs, abdomen, soften. So it takes a lot to think about your breath. Even though we're going to be moving our limbs around, we're going to be talking about different cues and what you should be feeling. And then at the same time, I'm asking you to take these deep breaths. It is a work in progress. I would say a couple of months into yoga, it starts to click. And you start to notice, wow, I am breathing a little bit deeper. Wow, I just thought about this as I was going to bed tonight. Breathe deeper and slower. So I think that the breathing is a big technique. It's a big skill, even though we're doing it in everyday life and not thinking about it. And the reason I bring up that we're not breathing to our full capacity is because I never want you to restrict yourself and think, well, that's as much as I can breathe. Our body has the capacity to take an even deeper breath when needed in a stressful situation, in a time when we're climbing stairs. So don't feel like it's your capacity. It's just what we work on. All right, thank you for that little rant. So we're going to work a little bit in the hips today and the shoulders to really work those joints. Those are ones that become stiff. We start to limit them. So we'll work on that. Come up to the top of your chair. So I don't want your chair to float forward, so make sure that you're grounded. You're grounded down into your sit bones and even the tops of your thighs. And then separate your feet a little bit. So I'd love for your feet to be maybe as wide as the width of your chair or even the feet of your chair. And sit up nice and tall. Lift your right arm up. So the ladies that were with me today, they've done this several times. You start to hear these cues, they become very familiar. But I want you to lift your right arm like you're asking a question. So really stretch up through your body. Bring your shoulder with you. Bring your shoulder blade with you. And you should start to feel a stretch on the right side of your body. Spread your fingers wide. Try to get your thumb and your pinky finger as far away from each other as you can till you feel action in the right side of your body. Now, pretend there's a light bulb, or maybe you are picking an apple from a tree. I kind of like the light bulb. It seems a little more realistic in my life. I want you to start to turn the light bulb as if you couldn't quite get it to turn out of its socket. And don't just turn from your wrist. Start to begin to feel that turn all the way up into your shoulder joint. Now, if this is too much for you, you could always bring your arm out to the side. Let's just assume that the light bulb is on a wall and not the ceiling. Really turn in and out and begin to feel like your bicep is turning back and forward. Now rest your arm for a moment. That was a long time. I also find that in yoga, you start to build this endurance, like holding your arm up. You're like, when is she going to let me put that arm down? But in time, you start to not really realize that. You're really more into the pose and the breath. Take your arm out to the side. Think about a doorknob. And this is a big old fancy doorknob. It's pretty big. And begin to turn your arm internally and externally rotating. So all the way up into your shoulder joint, exaggerating the turn on the doorknob. I like to think of this as my front shoulder and the back of my shoulder, and that I am moving the shoulder front and back. A couple of more times. Really curl your fingers around the doorknob and relax. And when you bring your right arm down, just notice how the right arm feels. Does it feel different from the left arm? Is there a difference? No right or wrong answer. Okay, we're going to bring our arm down to the side. So think about maybe a water spigot or a water faucet, and you have the stick or the pole, and you have your hand right over the faucet. Try to turn it. Move your shoulder head from front to back. Curl your fingers around the faucet. Couple of more times. And I haven't mentioned the breath, so just notice, are you going back to a little bit of a shallow breath? Could you take a deep breath in and exhale? Relax your right hand onto your leg. Just soften for a moment. Notice how your right arm feels. Okay, right side, we've got a left side. We're going to do the same thing again. Lift your left arm overhead. Again, if this is too much, and it is a lot to bring your arm up and it's great effort, bring it down a little bit. Bend your elbow a little bit. Everything doesn't have to be in a straight line. So come towards asking your big question. Spread your fingers wide. Spread your hand and fingers wide until you feel action in your arm. And then you've got your light bulb. So got to use your finger pads to start to try to loosen the light bulb from a very tight socket. You're not just twisting your wrist and your hand, you are moving all the way up into your shoulder head. Now this is familiar territory. You've already done it on one side, so focus on your breath for a moment. Take a big breath in. Let it out. It can be through your nose or your mouth, whatever feels comfortable. And relax your arm down. So I can tell you it's morning. This is quite early for me. So my body still feels cold from waking up. So even that movement feels like a big movement for me in the morning. If I did it in the evening, it might feel a little bit different just from the movement of the day. Take your left arm out to the side. You've got your big, eclectic, crazy big doorknob. Wrap your fingers around the doorknob and begin to turn all the way from your hand up into your shoulder. Take a deep breath in. Let it out. And I'd like for you to start to practice breathing out through your nose with your lips closed, unless you have sinus trouble and you're congested today. It just helps you have a more steady breath, a more concentrated breath. Bring your left arm down, relax for a moment. You might start to feel the same way in both arms, matching up a little bit. Okay, I think this one is the more challenging one for some reason for me. Bring your left hand down, try to straighten your arm, don't lock it out, have a little bend, and then wrap your fingers around a faucet, and it's not turning. So if that faucet's not turning, you'd have to put a little bit more muscle into it. So let your mind envision that you're doing that. It's amazing what the mind will convince you of. Can't get this faucet open. Got to use a little bit more muscle. And do you notice that if you use a little bit more muscle, you might even start to feel your back in the game? You start to lift up through your spine a little bit. Push down into your sit bones and really try to crank the faucet. Oh, relax. Soften. Draw your shoulders up to your ears, back behind your ears and down, and sit up nice and tall. Take a big breath in through your nose. Let it out. And I'm going to pause with our asana, our practice, for a moment to talk about the breath again. So in the beginning, I just mentioned a deep breath in and out. Now, I did aerobics back in the 80s, really heavy into that aerobic thing. So I would breathe in through the nose and I would just shoot that breath out through my mouth. I would inhale and then I would just let it all out from the action of the aerobics. But in yoga, it is helpful to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So it's something that you practice. So I'd like to do this one little action that we do called the Ujjayi breath. So hold your hand up and pretend it's a mirror. And then look at your mirror and I want you to fog it. So take a deep breath in through your nose and then fog the mirror. We've all done it. Shouldn't be anything new. Inhale again. Fog the mirror with your mouth. And release your hand down. So we're going to make that same fog action, but we're going to keep our lips closed and breathe out through our nose. So inhale, keep your lips closed and fog. Breathe out through your nose. Breathe in through your nose Keep your lips closed, breathe out through your nose, but make that fog sound. And just relax. It's not easy and you have to concentrate. That's number one. Also, it makes you breathe out through your nose slower. Also, you feel this little constriction in your throat and a little bit of a warming feeling. So that's just something I want you to practice, and I want you to think about breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. It's not easy and you forget, and it's okay. It's not a big deal. You can breathe out through your mouth. All right, that was a little break from the asana. Let's move into the asana again. So I haven't thought of a clever name for this, but I'm just calling it walking in the hips, hip walk. I like it. I think it's a cool name. So we're going to do some hip walks. We're not getting out of the chair, but we're going to walk a little bit. So I want you to just feel one buttock moving forward, and then feel the other buttock moving forward. And then maybe you do it one more time on each side, and you're at the front of your chair. And then we're going to walk backwards. Pick up a buttock, move it back. So it's not necessarily just walking your buttocks back, it's using your hips for the action. So come on back until you feel the back of your chair, and then walk up. Maybe take your arms away from you. That way you have a little bit of a swing and a little bit of momentum. And then crawl back. And if you really focus on one hip from the other, you feel it. Let's just do it a few more times. Walking up. It's okay to use your feet as well. And then crawl back. And stop for a moment. Now, for most of us, we feel that right in the hip flexors, maybe even the lower back. Let's crawl up to the front of the chair. And we'll do a little bit of movement in our hips. So keep your right leg where it is, knee in front. And this is where it comes in handy to not have a side on the chair. Take your left leg out to the side. Now, if you do have an arm on your chair, or you could be in a wheelchair or a walker of some type, you could also just take your left leg slightly out. It really doesn't matter. You're fine either way. I'm able to take mine out a little bit more. Push your left foot into the floor as if you were going to just stand up into your left foot. Feel that. And take a look at your foot. Turn it out. We're going to keep our right foot forward and just sit up nice and tall. Now, take your left hand to the outside of your left knee and give it a push. And that's all we're going to do. And that's all we need to do. Push your knee into your hand and give a little fight back. So let your hand fight back a little bit and push into your knee. But let your knee win. It's a lot. You'll start to feel your inner thigh. You'll start to feel your calf working if you push down into the floor. And then the last action I'm going to give you is an isometric action, meaning don't actually do what I say physically, but feel like you're doing it. Drag your left heel in towards you. Don't do it, but feel the action of doing it. And I can tell you this is hard work. My entire left leg is firing up. Push your knee into your hand. Push your foot into the floor and isometrically drag your heel towards you. So don't physically do it, but feel it. And then here's what you're going to do. This is what I'm doing. I'm holding my breath. Shouldn't be, right? Take a full breath in. Let it out through your nose. Push down your foot. Push your knee into your hand. Drag your heel towards you. Inhale. Exhale. Bring your leg back in and rest for a moment. And just notice how your left leg feels from your right. No right or wrong answer. I could tell you how mine feels, but I'm in my body and you're in yours. Okay, one side, the other side. Slide your right knee out. And again, it doesn't have to come all the way out to the side. It can come just a little bit in between. It doesn't have to come out at all. You can do these same actions. I have a chair that provides me space so I can bring my right leg out to the side. Turn your left foot forward. You're kind of at this angle, right? Like you're in a corner. Push your right foot down to the floor as if you were going to stand up. Push your foot into the floor. Bring your right hand to the back of your knee and push your knee into your hand. Give a little push back. So I immediately feel this in my inner thigh, activating, toning, but I'm also getting an external rotation of my hip, opening the hip and toning. Drag your heel towards you. Don't do it, so I don't want you to see any action. I want you to just feel like you're pulling it in. So you've got 3 actions to think about. Push, draw in, and push into your hand. Sit up tall. A lot of stuff going on here. It should make you feel a little breathless. You've got some work going. You're using the action of your muscles against you. Take a breath in. Let it out slowly through your nose. Push down to the floor. Press your knee into your hand and isometrically pull your heel towards you. Feel your right leg in action. Take a breath in. Exhale out through your nose. And relax. Slowly bring your right leg in. And just take a few moments here. All right. So we're going to add a little bit of the arms and a little bit of the hips. And just like a good recipe, we're just going to bring those things together and see what we get. So sit up a little bit. That way you have a little bit of your thighs. And again, I just want to press this. If you are in a chair where the mobility is not as stable and you feel like, well, I have wheels on my chair and I need to stay where I'm at, that's fine. You don't always have to move up into your chair. But sometimes it's nice just to give you a little bit of freedom in the tops of your thighs. Slide your knees out a little bit. Don't go crazy. Let's not take them all the way out today. Just keep them at a slight angle. And then turn your feet out. You necessarily might not be able to look down and see your toes, but feel like your kneecaps are aligned over the middle of your feet. So you got to turn your feet out a little bit and go with your knees. And same action here. Push down into your feet. Squeeze your heels towards each other. Sit up nice and tall. And feel like you're stacking your shoulders over your hips. What would that feel like? So your shoulders wouldn't be forward and you're not leaning back. Try to align your shoulders over your hips. This is a cue I've said before. I don't know if you've ever worn suspenders. I have, because I am from the 80s. So I wore suspenders a lot back then, but feel like you have suspenders coming over your shoulders and are attached right at your hips. And I want you to think about the suspenders being slack. How could you make your suspenders a little bit tighter? Well, you could pick your shoulders up, roll them back, and slide them down. And you might feel like your suspenders just got a little bit tighter. Lift your chin a little bit and slide the back of your skull to align with your tailbone. Now, all of these actions are to get you to sit up a little bit taller. Take a breath in from your abdomen, your ribs, and your chest. Keep the lift in your chest and tone your ribs and belly towards each other. So feel like you are moving in as much as you're moving up. It's hard work to think and do. Push your feet into the floor. Squeeze your heels towards each other. Roll your shoulders up to your ears. Slide them back and down so that you feel like your suspenders just got nice and taut and tight. And then breathe from your abdomen, ribs, chest. Keep the lift in your chest and then hug in rib cage and abdomen as you exhale. All right, lift your arms out to the sides. Turn your palms up. Do you remember that feeling from before? Externally rotate your shoulders, bend your elbows, lift them up a little bit, and turn your palms forward. So now you have cactus arms or field goal arms. Draw your elbows back slightly till you feel your shoulder blades hinging towards each other. And then slowly and slightly turn to the left, just a little bit. Squeeze your feet down into the floor, squeeze your heels towards each other, lift up like your elbows want to lift a half an inch, come back to center. Turn slightly to the right. So don't feel like you're turning a corkscrew. Yeah, corkscrew. Don't feel like you're doing that. You're just making a mild turn to the right. Lift your elbows up slightly. Draw your shoulder blades in towards each other and come back to center. Release your arms. So just minor work, but I can tell you that I didn't think about my breath. I was thinking about what I was going to say to you. So this time, let's just focus completely on our breath. Take your arms out to the sides. Inhale, turn your palms up. Exhale, stretch out through your fingers. Inhale, bend your elbows. Exhale, turn your palms towards the front. Inhale. Exhale, slowly turn to the left. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, slowly turn to the right. Inhale to center. Exhale, release your arms. Heel toe your feet in towards each other. And maybe even crawl, hip crawl, your hips back to the back of the chair and sit up nice and tall. So just a little bit of a hip opener. Again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but this is an introduction to chair yoga. So maybe you've done chair yoga in the past and maybe you've never, ever, ever practiced yoga a day in your life. So I really want to be slow and thoughtful about what we're doing. One of my sweet students in here said, I've been taking yoga with you for a few years, but it's always nice to go back to basics because sometimes you go, oh, I do remember that, or I am doing that. So this is what this class is about today. Sit up nice and tall, roll your shoulders back. Make sure your feet are touching the earth. And that might mean you have to sit up a little bit. And for now, we're just going to feel. That's all, just to feel. So I want you to feel your right foot. Using your mind to feel it. You don't have to use your hands, but just feel your right foot. Wiggle your toes around a little bit. And bring your toes back to the earth. Now you've got your left hand resting on your leg. So when you lift your toes up, you might even feel a little action in your quadriceps. So try to push down into your heel, push down into the ball mounds of your feet, and just pick up your toes. Maybe they pick up, maybe they don't, but feel the action of them picking up. And you might even notice that your quadriceps come into the game a little bit. And then bring your toes back down. Now, stay in your foot and begin to feel the ball mounds, the heel, and all the toes. And then go into the opposite foot. I can't remember if I told you to feel your left foot or your right foot, but I'm going into my right foot now. Maybe you go into your left. Push down into your right foot and pick up all of your toes. And you might kind of go back and forth between picking up your toes and bringing them down. And I'm not saying a big thing happens in your quadriceps, but you might feel just a little bit of tone and movement. And then bring your toes back down. Feel your right heel. Feel the ball mounds of your feet. And when I say ball mounds of your feet, I'm talking about the big one under your big toe and the little one under your pinky toe. Those are the ball mounds. And when you talk about the heel, you could think of a horseshoe, or you could think about the inner and outer part of your heel. So I like to think of your foot as having 4 corners. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 corners. Let's go back into our feet. Go into your left foot. Close your eyes. Feel your left foot on the floor. Feel the big toe ball mound of your foot and press into it. Feel the outer left heel. Press into it. Feel your pinky toe ball mound. Press into it. And feel your inner left heel. Press into it. Feel the 4 corners of your left foot. Press into the floor and feel action under your left hand. Left leg engaged. Relax. Open your eyes. I'm just amazed at how much our mind can take us into those places and how we can use it. Close your eyes. Come into your right foot. Press into the big ball mound of your right big toe. Press into your outer right heel. Press into your pinky toe ball mound. It's small, but you can feel it. Press into your inner right heel. Feel your right foot engaged on the floor, active as if you could stand in it. Feel action under your right hand. Soften and open your eyes. Press both feet into the floor. Take your right ear over to your right shoulder. Stay active in your feet to the floor. Bring your right ear over to your right shoulder and soften your left shoulder down. Close your eyes. Lift your head up, open your gaze, open your eyes, open your gaze, open your gaze, open your eyes. Take your left ear over to your left shoulder. Continue to press down into your feet so you stay active in your legs, toned and rooted down through your sit bones. Let your left ear float towards your left shoulder. Soften your right shoulder down. For some of us, we stay so tense in the neck and shoulders. Lift your head, open your eyes. This is a very gentle movement. Just slowly nod no as you gaze to the left and the right. Not fast, but very slow. And look towards the center. And then don't lift up too high or too low. Just lift your gaze slightly as if you were showing me your throat. And then slowly gaze down towards the floor. Lift your gaze slightly, maybe looking up where the wall and the ceiling meet, the wall and the ceiling corner. And then come back down. And then slightly lift your gaze one more time. And look forward. So we come into Shavasana. Shavasana in yoga is a final resting pose. If you were in a yoga class where you laid on the floor, you might get props, pillows, blankets, get comfortable. Same thing can be done in the chair. I like to think that the chair now has a cushion. So you've propped a little pillow behind you. Maybe you put a pillow under your thighs. Maybe you put a blanket under your feet so that your feet are resting softly, not pressing down into the floor, but resting on the blanket. Pretend. I like to think that now there's a wall behind my skull and I could just gently lay the back of my skull against the wall, maybe even with a pillow behind it. Lean forward for just a moment. Draw your shoulder blades in towards each other. Lay back onto your chair. Soften your eyelids. Let your lashes brush your upper cheeks. Let your eyes, full and round, see a deep blue sky. Soften the features of your face, the muscles around your eyes, the corners of your mouth. Release. Release any tension in your legs by feeling the chair beneath you. Let the chair hold your legs. Soften the pads of your toes, the pads of your fingers. And just listen to your breath. Don't make it anything more than it is, just listen. Embrace the quiet. Allow your thoughts to float in and out. Embrace the stillness. And just listen. And begin to take a deeper breath in, using the mind and body. Maybe let it out through your mouth. Let's all breathe together. Inhale and exhale. Bring your palms together. Lift your thumbs to your chest. We call these mudra, the way that we can sometimes bring our hands together. And a lot of us know this as prayer hands. Bring your thumbs right up to your sternum, press gently. I chant a sound of Om, typically at the beginning and end of class. I didn't today, but normally I do. The sound of Om is a universal sound. It's a sound we hear in the universe. We think of it as a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we chant the sound Om. Usually we hear it as an O-M or an A-U-M. It is in the back of your throat. It is a beautiful kind of an octave sound that comes up and then out. It's just a beautiful sound. So we chant Om together. You can always just listen or you can join me. I think it's a nice way to hear the sound of your own voice. It's comforting. First, take a breath in. Let it out through your mouth. And we'll chant together or listen. Inhale. And we say to each other at the end of class, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being here to this introduction to chair yoga. I teach live classes. You're always welcome to join us, and you're always welcome to watch these. Have a great day.